college and school, so. For the grade school, so. Yes, sir. Okay.
And there is.
Don't act up now.
I guess. Well, yeah, you got that. That's about it.
The rest is you. Tom, you want to pray?
Got a lot of people want to speak. Got a big list of people want to speak.
Oh, man. I ain't got time for that.
It's better than that other meeting we had.
Yeah. Y'all ready?
Yep, I can get my computer back up now.
You might hand me the gavel. Thank you, man. All right, we'll go ahead and call to order today's Board of Supervisors meeting. Today's September 3rd, 2024. The time now is 3 p.m. First item we have is the approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Motion on the floor by Mr. Martin. All those in favor say aye. Aye. I vote aye as well. Next item we have is the invocation and pledge. Mr. Martin's going to lead us in the invocation. I'll follow with the pledge.
Let's bow our heads. Our Father and our God, Lord, we've come before you as your humble servants, Lord. Father, I pray that you will be with us as we conduct the county's business. Lord, I thank you for the staff that's here. And Father, more than anything, I thank you for the way the staff interacts with each other, Lord, and just how they seem joyful at their work. And I thank you for that, Lord. And I pray that we work hard as a board to be able to continue that type of atmosphere. Lord, I pray a special blessing on all of our county staff, but especially our law enforcement, our firefighters, and medical personnel, Lord, as they deal with our citizens in their greatest time of need. Father, above all else, we thank you for your Son, and it's in his name we ask it and pray. Amen.
Amen. Attention, salute, pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. Next item we have is citizen comment. Any citizens wishing to address the board at this time, feel free to come up and speak. Seeing none. We'll move on to the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as is?
So moved.
Motion on the floor by Mr. Adams. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I vote aye as well. Any opposed? None. Next, we have a special presentation. Dr. Wells, if you'd like to present on the school construction grant, please.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, thank you for having me this afternoon. Kind of go through where we are with the construction for a little bit and then into some funding with the state grant. So I just want to first just thank you again for your support of the project as we move forward, and things are moving along at a pretty good pace. Just a few pictures just so you can kind of see on the left-hand side, that's kind of what it looked like when y'all did your tour. And the right-hand pictures were taken today, looking at the same general area. So you can see with the structural steel is now up and some roof deckings on as well. If you look at the next picture, that was Mr. Rokes took that picture in mid-July, but at the same time, y'all did your tour. And then we took this picture today from about the same, roughly the same angle. Again, you can see the structural steel, you can see the block in the auditorium up to grade there and elevation there, and the rest of the block being laid. So we're making progress. The structural steel for the span, the auditorium is supposed to come in the end of the week. And they have to, it's a 162-foot span, so we have to bring it in sections, and the fitters there, the steel fitters will have to put it together and weld it before we can hang it. So that'll be kind of erected on the ground, then they'll hang it once they get it put together. So next week you should start seeing some of the structural steel going across the auditorium, just so you have an idea there, and then some more decking. But we'll have to finish up some of the block work before we can do much more decking, as far as the roof decking and stuff like that. But we're getting there. So I just want to let you see that as before we get going too deep into the conversation today. So the reason I'm here today is because we received the state grant. So this is kind of the breakdown of where the funding came from for the project. Again, we used 1.3 million of CIP funds to go towards the project. We had a school construction grant. We had about 2 million in that from additional grant in 2022. But there's about 900,000 of that put towards the project. We had our CARES money. We had an HVAC grant that totaled 6.6 million, and you had the loans and things that you took out. And then also the rough estimate on the interest, that interest number was taken in late June, so it's probably more than that now, but the interest on your loan. So the left-hand side is kind of money that came to the school system. The right three the buckets are money that came from board supervisors. So the school construction grant was $6.7 million. And this allows us, this money is allocated just for the high school. We can't use it anywhere else. And so just making sure you understand that, what we were asking to do is to look at some of the funding that's in there that can be reallocated from other sources, that's not locked in to just being used at the high school, and we'll work on using replace that with some construction grant money, but also move forward with some other projects across the county. So right now we're requesting to reallocate the 1.3 million in CIP funds and reallocate the construction fund balance for about $2.25 million. We will replace that again with money from the construction grant. So the money is just, that money there I can use anywhere across the school system. The construction grant money I can only use at the high school. So that's the ask there. So we can use this for other projects across the county. Of those, restroom renovation at Manellison and Amherst Middle, about $500,000 apiece. Replacing windows at Amelon Elementary, Amherst Elementary Central, Elin and Temperance, as well as at Amherst Middle School. And that would be roughly $950,000. That'd also leave us about $306,000 to go to our CIP for other projects that may come up. So we really like to use that money for the two middle schools and also the windows at our elementary schools and Amherst Middle School. We also, with the state grant, are requesting to reinstate some things that were cut during the VE process. So when we looked at the VE, when the initial numbers came out, we had to cut some things to get the price in line where we needed it. Now we have the state grant, we want to put some of those back in. Of those items, again, the folded partition auditorium, and what that'll do is you can have two things going on at once in the auditorium. So you could have a class down in the front on the stage. You could also have something in the back and keep those separate. Or if you had a smaller event and you only needed the 500 seats or whatever in the front, you could close that off just to have that smaller venue size. The telescopic seat in the back, again, that's to allow us to, those seats will fold back, gives you more floor space in the back. So if you had an event where you needed to have tables in the back of the auditorium, you could fold that back and still have your seats in the front, for a seating of about 500 people for that. The brick screen wall along the Lancer Lane, that is basically right now, if you come up Lancer Lane, you have that chain link fence, and we put the plastic slats in it to kind of shield things off, but that's not if we're trying to upgrade the view and the image, and you walk up and you ride up the road and all you see is that stuff through the shop, it's just not very appealing. So this would kind of screen all that off all the way up Lancer Lane, so it kind of ties that in, so it kind of ties into the rest of the back of the school. Classrooms in the old auditorium, again, once that floor is leveled, we can put in 3 classrooms and offices in the old auditorium. LVT flooring, we're looking at extending the LVT flooring up the hallway. And then restroom renovations, that's the big ticket item here, $860,000 to renovate the restrooms in the high school. And then HVAC upgrades in the vocational wing. When we did the HVAC upgrade, I guess in 2015 at the high school, when they did it, that system they deemed was not old, didn't need to be replaced. It had 10 more years of life in it. Well, the 10 more years of life is now here, so our recommendation would be that be replaced as well, for a total of $1.9 million. We also would like to propose additional projects to the high school. These are in our CIP, but now we have the funds strictly for the high school. We'd like to look at adding these back into the project, which would be a retaining wall in the stadium, handrails in the stadium for our guests. We've had a lot of people, especially as they get older, complain that those handrails would be nice going up and down the steps in the stadium. When we did our tour, we went to the Library Media Center. Again, that has not been renovated since 1988, 89. The parking lot, milling and paving of the parking lots. Again, when the stadium was put in, it was paved, and it hasn't been paved since. So that pavement now is 30-some years old, 30 years old. The stadium was put in 1990. We're now in 24. So, the fact that it's still there to any degree is pretty good, but it needs to be replaced. It's worn out. Landscaping, again, we took some trees down for the project, and we took some trees down because they weren't really the right kind of trees to have, but when we finished the project, we wanted some landscaping. Lecture hall seating, that lecture hall, again, 1995, it hasn't really been changed much since 1995, so we're really looking at putting new seating and new carpet in there. And then the synthetic flooring in the old gym, that was done around 2008, but there are some defects there, and that floor is starting to separate and pucker up now. So when you walk in there, you actually have bubbles under the floor about an inch or two high, and that really, from a safety standpoint, needs to be done. So the additional projects will be about $1.07 million, almost 1.08. So if you look at this, reallocated funds, about 2.25, reinstated project components 1.93, additional project components 1.79 for a total of 5.3. That leaves us about almost 1.4 million from the construction grant that's not allocated. So we have a couple options there. We would like to hold that in reserve in case we have anything unexpected costs. We have money there to cover it. But also 2 options, it could be used, those funds could be used to help offset county debt service from the loans, or it could be used for other projects at the high school. But I want to give those options out there to the board, and how again, we can put that money there, but there's some other projects we could do, but we want to make sure, one, we have it in reserve, and if it's not needed for reserve, that if you want to use it for debt service, we'd be willing to make that. Since y'all have done so much on funding the rest of the project, I think that's something we could easily do. So, again, that's my presentation. I ask if you have any questions regarding the information I've laid out to you today.
I've got a few. First, going back to the windows
Yes.
in the unrestricted funds, are those just your standard windows, or those security grade windows?
There would be, first level floor would be security grade, if a second floor would be a little different because they have that security film and stuff on
Are
them.
those for first floor, second, or mix of both?
Right.
Okay. For whether it's unrestricted, whether it's the reinstated or the additional projects, the estimates you have laid out here, are those up to date, or do you have to go back for bid on any of that?
We would have to go to bid on, but we have up-to-date numbers when this was back to June.
Okay.
But we would, obviously, as time goes forward, we would get up-to-date numbers but those are the rough, within a few $1,000s of what it was told us in June.
And then my final question for the reserves. If we approve this, would you hold that in reserve and then bring it back to us if you want to use it? Or
Yeah, I mean, I could
what's
hold
the
it.
plan there?
My thought process, hold in reserve. If we have any major cost overruns that we need to use it for, obviously use that for that first, and then come to you and say, okay, this is how much we have, and these are the options we'd like to talk to you about.
Thank you, sir.
So,
Board, yes, ma'am.
2 questions, and one of them came from a constituent. On the restroom renovation and redesign,
Yes.
I'm the first to say that those bathrooms need help. They really do.
yes.
Is there any type of accommodations that will be made for social issues?
Yes. So
Could you elaborate?
Florida, one, there'll be, you can see from the hallway in, so you lose some of the issues of going there and doing any little fights or other things, but open it up, but every stall would be a floor-to-ceiling stall. So you would have privacy in each individual stall is what we're looking to do. And that kind of takes away some of those other concerns that we've been facing and other school divisions have been facing.
Are all the bathrooms gender-specific?
Right now they are.
Maybe after this?
They could be more gender neutral because you have your floor to ceiling. And that would take away some of those other concerns that have been out there.
My next question is there anything that we're doing here that's going to put more money or more resources into our vocational ag
With
part of this project?
With this, not necessarily with what we laid out right here. However, with that 1.4 million sitting in reserve, there are things we could do, but I didn't want to obligate that until, because we're getting the new ag lab and we're getting some of the other work. There are things we could do, and there are some ideas we've had, but I didn't bring those to you today because I didn't want to start obligating money I didn't want to use yet.
All right, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Board, any other questions?
I've got a couple.
Yes, sir.
So the roughly $1.4 million that you've got left over, that you said you potentially going to hold for
Yes.
reserves to the debt service.
Yes, sir.
And I'm not sure, Ms. McBride, this may be a question for you, but what is our debt service on this money a year? Do we have a figure for that?
I'll have to look it up for you.
Okay.
I don't have it today, but I'll get numbers for you.
I will say it's graduated and it changes year to year.
Yeah, I understand
Yeah,
that.
okay.
But obviously, I'm assuming we're probably starting to pay debt service on that this current fiscal year, correct?
We'll get that for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'd like to know what those numbers are.
Okay.
Secondly, as far as the budget goes, at what point, because obviously since the reentry, we haven't talked about this, but when the books get closed out, the carry forward money that usually the school system requests from the boards, do you guys have a rough idea of what we're looking at yet for carry forward requests?
So my understanding from Ms. Lukanich is we're estimated around 600,000 from this last FY that was not obligated that we can carry forward.
And that would have been for FY '24?
Correct. And that would go into our CIP as well.
So I know I'm sound like I'm all over the place, which I actually am, but I'm trying to go back to the audit that we just finished, right? I'm assuming your FY '23 funds, when were those carry forward funds requested? Do we know?
They haven't been
They haven't been,
because of the
we just closed.
audit, right?
All right, so we had to wait on the audit to be closed okay, so that would make sense. So that number was roughly what? Refresh my memory,
It was, 2 million from the construction funds.
Yeah, 1.8.
1.8.
It was construction fund money, then we had about $800,000.
Okay, so
in carryover.
once that's done, what is going to be the intended purpose for those carry forward funds?
Other CIP projects that aren't listed here. For example, we have our transportation department, our bus garage, and that's something that's on our list. We have our CIP, which I can bring to y'all at a future date if you want to, that multiple CIP projects in here that this will not fund. This helps us with that because it takes a lot of those off the CIP list, but there are other CIP projects that we need to work on, things that have been not done in time. So like, for example, the transportation and food service office is in a double wide type trailer down there that it's seen its lifespan. So we need to start looking at replacing that. We need to look at the depth of our bays because buses have grown in length over time. So when we pull buses into the bays, there's sometimes not enough room to get the entire bus in. So we need to look at making the bays, we need to do some work there with that aspect of it. That's one area. Our focus the past few years has been really on focusing on direct student support and things in our schools, but eventually we have to start looking at those other structural things too in the system. So that'd be some of the things the money could be used towards.
I think my only comment will be left, and again, this is just my opinion, is whatever these reserve funds at 1.4, which this 6.7 was unanticipated, right?
We were hoping, but we
We
couldn't.
were hoping, right?
Yeah.
We're always hoping. But, obviously my concern is we gotta pay this money off, right? And obviously we wanna do it as fiscally responsible as we can on the backs of the taxpayer. So, it is at least my opinion that we need to at least use that 1.4 for debt service. So, but that's just my opinion. I wanted some clarification on that carry forward and things of that nature.
Yes,
And
sir.
if I could get the debt service payments, I'd appreciate it.
Any other questions, board?
No, just a statement. I'd like to thank Mr. Wells. I think that's a great gesture to actually hold that in reserve for debt service. I agree with what Mr. Adams said. Hopefully going forward, that amount will be there to help offset some of the costs that our taxpayers have to burden. And, but I do appreciate the gesture and bringing that forward.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
What about the field house?
That's it. That's part of the money.
When is it going to be built?
Oh, so we're waiting on DEQ to give us the final approval, and I think we're thinking sometime this week is what we were anticipating. They've sent it back 3 times for additional comments. So we should get the DEQ permit this week, and we'll start see grading done probably in the next 2 or 3 weeks. The building permit's been done, and we're waiting right now on, we have about an 8 to 10 week delay in the building being ordered due to that, but that's been ordered. So the building should be on site within 8 to 10 weeks, and then we should have all the grading work done and all the sub work done before. So we're looking at 10 weeks from now, you should see steel going up.
Okay, cool. So I've thought about this a lot. When I first heard about it, I was like, great, 6.7 million. I share Mr. Adams' concerns and Mr. Pugh's about paying the money back, yet also when we decided to do this, we expected to borrow, 30-some plus $million to do this project. And I think you, Dr. Wells, and all of your staff have done just a phenomenal job in getting this project done and on schedule. Getting the grant and having it allow you to put things back in and also be able to invest in other schools, buildings. It's a great problem to have, right? If we didn't do this, we still have those issues that the work still needs to be done, right? So I see this as a great opportunity to continue investing in our schools, which I fully support. So I support this the way you've submitted it.
Thank you, sir.
So
Board, any other
do you need a
questions?
motion?
Yes, we need a motion.
I would make the motion that we accept the school board's recommendation.
Motion on the floor by Mr. Martin. Any further discussion? None. All those in favor say aye. Aye. I vote aye as well. Any opposed? None.
Yeah.
Pass. Thank you.
Thank you. And when we met last time, I know some of y'all mentioned maybe wanting to do another visit in October timeframe. So I was thinking of I think you have your evening meeting is on the 15th. So if you wanted to do something before that meeting, we could arrange it. Just let us know. We can make that happen. So, okay. All right. Thank you.
Next item we have is the county administrator's report.
Yeah, yes, sir. Just 2 items. One, your project status report is in the packet. I normally don't go over that line by line. I'll stop here and pause. Is there anything you want to call out on that or any updates you want specifically on the project status report?
I do have one question regarding the training center. I know you had a note in there about a late August meeting with the new real estate firm. Any updates there?
Yeah, we had a meeting recently with the Lynchburg Regional Business Alliance, Victoria Hansen, and we met the two representatives from the new real estate firm JLL. They toured the campus last week. They are working on a new plan on how to market the property. So you may recall the old firm they had was DeVaris. They're no longer with the state. This new real estate firm is marketing the property. So they're working to package things together and answer questions and really cast a bigger net.
Thank you. Board, any other questions for
I've
Mr.
got a
Brown?
follow-up question on the training center as well. So I know with the closing of the Petersburg site, that made them a hospital short, and there was some discussion to keep one of the buildings open at the training center. I think that discussion is being led by Senator Deeds. Have you heard anything else about that? Is that likely?
I haven't heard that to be, I don't think that's very likely. I've heard that discussion, but everything we've heard from the state is they're working to
Better-
sell the
okay.
property. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
The second item is election day is November the 5th. We have our regular board meeting that day. I'm putting before you, asking if you would like to cancel that meeting. I've reached out to staff. There's nothing pressing that we're aware of. They can't be pushed to a meeting before or a meeting after. So we're recommending that we do cancel that meeting because we're closed that day. But I wanted to, that's up to you.
Board, what's your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman, if I may, we jumped ahead, or maybe I was too slow, one of the two, probably the latter of the two. Going back to your project report, I know the last time we met, you guys were supposed to be meeting with RDA and getting some feedback. What was the outcome of that meeting?
We've had a couple meetings with RDA and virtual IT. Our project manager, Jackie Vire, has worked with Rainey Grubb with virtual IT. We're putting a plan together, really probably should have it this week, I believe, on what things that virtual IT can do to help us move things faster and quicker. So I'll give you an update as soon as I have it, but should have a meeting this week to go over that.
Okay, good deal. And then I was glad to see the Gateway Sewer Project on that, but that's been weighing on me a little bit. I see that on here, and obviously with not all the board members on the Service Authority, which it's hard to keep up with this stuff. But I see your update, but has there been any timeline provided? Because again, when I go back, I know it sounds like I'm a broken record and just repeating itself, but we're talking about debt service. We're paying debt service on that money, correct?
Correct.
And nothing, that money is sitting there, we're paying debt service on, and nothing is happening.
Well, no, things are happening. No, nothing's
So
happening.
what's happening?
Well, so they've done survey work. Mr. Castillo gave an update to the Service Authority Board earlier today on what they're doing to move forward on that project. So let me get up with Mr. Morcom and Mr. Castillo, and I'll get you a more detailed update.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I got, Mr. Chairman.
Sorry to skip over you there. So back, anybody else have any questions about the status report? All right, seeing none. Moving on to the cancellation of November 5th meeting. What's your pleasure? Thoughts?
I'm fine with
Yeah,
canceling
I'm
it.
okay. You need a motion?
I'll go ahead and make it. Motion to cancel November 5th, 2024 meeting. All those in favor say aye. Aye. I vote aye as well. Any opposed? None? All right. Motion passes. Next item we have is the county attorney's report. Mr. Popovich.
Mr. Chairman, I have nothing at this time.
All right. Next item we have is citizen comment. Anybody wishing to address the board at this time? Seeing none. Move on to matters from members of the board. Mr. Adams.
Nothing at this time.
Mr. Martin. Mr. Pugh.
I have nothing.
Ms. Tucker.
I don't have anything.
And I have nothing. Next item we have is a closed session. So I'll make a motion that, let's see. I'll make a motion in just a second, as soon as I get the language. There we go. Thank you. I make a motion that we enter into closed session for the limited purpose of considering the disposition of publicly held real property where discussion in an open meeting would adversely affect the bargaining position or negotiating strategy of the board regarding real property located in Districts 1 and 2 pursuant to Virginia Code Section 2.2, 2711A3, considering the disposition of publicly held real property where a discussion in an open meeting would adversely affect the bargaining position or negotiating strategy of the board regarding real property located in District 2 pursuant to Virginia Code Section 2.23711A3, and consultation with legal counsel retained by the board regarding specific legal matters requiring the provision of legal advice by such counsel regarding public safety operations pursuant to Virginia Code Section 2.23711A8. All those in favor say aye. Aye. I vote aye as well. We're in closed session.
See.
Y'all have a great day.
Bye, Brad, thank you.
Buddy, man.
The dancing bear.
All righty,
Eli.
I move that the Board of Supervisors certify by recorded vote that to the best of each board member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from the open meeting requirements of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act and identifying the motion authorizing the closed session were heard, discussed, or considered in the closed session. Mr. Adams?
Aye.
Mr. Martin? Aye. Mr. Pugh?
Aye.
Ms. Tucker? Aye. And I vote aye as well. With that, I will make a motion to adjourn. All those in favor say aye. Aye. I vote aye as well. Thank you. We're adjourned.